Hello everybody, it's your host Samla, and today we are going to be talking about players, specifically players in TTRPGs or tabletop RPGs, as it was. Now, this could be, these tabletop RPGs can be anywhere. There are many of them. Most popular, of course, is D&D. Some of the more obscure ones that some people may or may not have heard of are things like Shadowrun and Exalted. Another popular one that many people seem to know to some extent, as it has either inspired shows or it has been inspired by shows, and that, of course, is Vampire the Masquerade, done by White Wolf. And then, of course, there's Call of Cthulhu, and there's so many different kinds out there, both indie and popular types, that in order to run them properly, as everybody knows, you're going to need at least one player, but it's usually more fun with more than one player because you kind of get to do more and, play around and get some more inside jokes, and people come around to have a good time, to escape from reality. And there are a few categories of players out there, and as well as the types of players, and there's been a wonderful video done by Matt Colville, which I'll link down below for you guys to watch if you haven't watched it, as to how different types of players act. I'm not going to repeat everything he said because he put out a pretty good video and you guys should check it out. What I am going to be talking about is players in the game. You're going to get those ones who are good, you're going to get the ones who don't care, and you're going to get the bad ones. Typically how it goes. Now, the good ones are the ones who want to involve themselves in the game, who want to create the backstory, who want to play with their friends and get along and go on epic quests and be the heroes they were meant to be. The ones who don't care, they don't really care about, setting up a backstory. They don't care about going on some epic quest to save the world. They'll do it because they want to roll dice, but, they're just there to have fun. They don't really care about the story, or they may not care about the story. They just want to roll some dice and have some fun. Otherwise, they don't really care. And there's a place for them, but maybe not in your story-driven campaign. And the third one is the one that I've not recently, because recently I'm running with wonderful new players that I'd like to pet at some point or another, just like. And so, with the bad players, they are disrupting everything. They are trying to not necessarily derail, but they're trying to ruin the DM's world. They're trying to see if they can break it. They don't really care about the people who they're playing with. They just want to kind of see everything fall apart.
Some men aren't looking for anything logical, like money. They can't be bought, bullied, reasoned, or negotiated with. Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Or then they're so stuck up that, every little detail matters, and if you don't follow through with that, they'll get finicky about it. They're kind of like what some might refer to as extreme rules lawyers, especially if things don't go their way. But the book doesn't say, you're the player, not the DM. House rules exist for a reason. It's to make things fun. You're not supposed to follow, and this is a tip for DMs as well as players, in any campaign, you're not supposed to follow the books 100%. Yes, there are certain basic rules that you should follow, but other than that, it's loosely based on your imagination. Like, even the book itself says don't take everything in here 100% literally. And As for, I just want to pause to briefly talk about the players I've had experience with most recently when I was a player. I remember one campaign. I can't remember which one it was, but I was playing a half-elf bard, and another player thought it would be absolutely wonderful to try and screw with my bard's plans every step of the way. Like, he went out of his way for no good reason to screw with my bard. And this kind of pissed me off and annoyed me greatly, but I didn't really do much of it, even though I had to think of ways to counter everything he was doing, even though his character didn't really have any reason to be doing it, especially when his character was only targeting me. And then, when another player would target him much in the same way, he would start complaining about it. He would start complaining how that other player is targeting him, how the other player is making him do things he doesn't want to do, how the other player is attacking him or blaming him or, doing all these stupid things, and, he's not able to get it because the other player keeps on targeting him. And I believe I told him, so you mean turnaround is fair play? And he's like, well, what do you mean? It's like, you do almost the exact same thing to me. He didn't get it. But that's the point I'm trying to bring across, is that yes, while he did have some comical moments, his thing was twofold. One, try and screw the DM's campaign so that he can break it. And not in, let's use some powers to break it, but I'm going to try and derail this story so far that we can't run it anymore. And then the second thing he would do is he would screw with the players, specifically me, who was kind of like on the outside of the group a little bit. And, I don't play with them anymore, obviously, but this was just the type of player he was, and it is one of the players that many DMs would consider to be a dick player. Or, as I like to call them, a bad player. They're not working with the team, they're actively working against the team. They're trying to derail the DM story to the point where it can no longer run. And with derailing, it's not so much a bad thing because there are ways around it. When you derail a story, if you're a good DM, you know how to rein it back so that it goes the way you want to do it. And most of what it just requires is for you to use the character's backstory, use the character's personality, use the character's things that they care about, and even use the character's motivations. You throw those in at key locations, and you can bring the story back around to where you want it. This is also another reason why I enjoy doing more of a bullet point, is because when they do try and derail, they're not actually derailing the campaign. They are still proceeding with the story because they're like, oh yeah, we're going to go that way. I'm like, that's okay. I have an enemy there. I was like, oh, I have an enemy there too. What about, I have an enemy there too. Everything is connected. That's how I like to spin my stories, is that no matter where they go or what they do, unless they do nothing, which I really hope they don't decide to do that, but they don't seem to be that. They seem to be good players. I like these players. But there are players who would, like, for example, the guy I was talking about, he would probably do nothing or try and kill the entire party. He wasn't playing, or he was claiming he would be playing a chaotic neutral character, doing whatever that character wanted, whether that be good or evil. And he wouldn't make when you have players that don't make the game fun for other people, you have bad players at the table. So, yeah, I just wanted to talk about those three types of players, my experience with them, and hope you got like a little bit of tidbit of information from this. One last thing I do want to say is that if you are working with those who don't care, run a dungeon. Like, run a dungeon diving game, because all they're usually there for is to have fun and roll dice. They don't care about story. They don't care about, going on some epic quest to save the world. They just want to go into a dungeon, roll some dice, fight some bad guys, come out of that dungeon, and spend their money on power-ups, homes, whatever. If you have a bad player or bad players, the one thing you're probably going to want to do is either look for new players. Actually, the only thing you're going to want to do is look for new players and just like end the campaign. Like, nope, sorry, we're done here. And just leave the campaign because you can't do anything with them. So yeah, that is it for now, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.